Hello friends, this is Ganesh. Hope you're doing great. And today I'm going to explain the view communication, how the view communication is happening in Web Dynpro. So we have seen about layouts and context. So hope now you have an idea about how we can just get into the Web Dynpro development and able to handle how to communicate, how to assign a value, how to read a value from any kind of component. So the next level is to understand the views. So, excuse me. If you want to keep a component, you need a view, and multiple view also required depends on the business need. So sometimes we need to communicate between views, view 1, view 2, view 3, and there may be a chance of sending the parameter value or sending a value while communicating between the views. So that is also needed. So those things we are going to see in this video. Okay, and every view has to be embedded in a window, as we see in the last example. Every view, because the layouts I have shown you different views, so if you want to execute a view, obviously that needs to be embedded with the window. Okay, so those are we have seen already. So today we're going to see especially the communication and what are the technical terms we are going to use for this communication. Okay, let's get into the slide first. So this is a view, and I have multiple views, and each view has its own component and the communication to be happen between the views. So it may be a two-way communication. It's not necessarily always a two-way communication. It depends. So whatever view you have that needs to be added or included or embedded into a window. So that is very basic. So once you embed it, then you can start designing the communication between the views. So to communicate between the views, we need a few steps. First one is we need to embed the view into a window. It's very basic. And we are going to learn a new terminology called plugs. So there is a classification, outbound and inbound plug. Okay, it has a parameters also. So how we are communicating is we need a plug between the views, and we need to create a navigation link between the plugs. So the navigation link is always outbound to inbound. And while navigating, if you want to pass any values, you can make use of those parameter options. Okay. So here the navigation is always happening from outbound to inbound only. So whenever you want to communicate, make sure your view has a plugs. Even the plugs have to be available in window level, that we'll see quite later. And the navigation link has to be done between these two plugs. So now everything is ready. We need a triggering point. So normally triggering point is always a button click or an event, or if any option button clicks, right? So that is going to be make sure to trigger your outbound plug. So outbound plug is always in the triggering area. So if you want to communicate, you have to trigger your outbound plug only. Okay, so we need to make sure from which action I have to trigger my outbound plug, from view 1 or view 2, depends. Now I have a view, view 1 and view 2, and I'm going to create two plugs, outbound and inbound. You don't have any default plugs for a view. You have to create both the plugs. And I'm going to create in view 2 also, because my scenario is going to be I'm going to pass or communicate between view 1 and view 2 and back, view 2 to view 1. Very simple navigation here. So once the plugs are ready, I have to create a navigation path, or sorry, navigation link between two plugs. Okay, so that is going to be like this. So view 1 outbound to view 2 inbound plug, you have to make it. Okay, and same way, if you want to make sure I want to go back to view 1, then create a navigation link between view 2 outbound plug to view 1 inbound plug. Okay, so this communication, or this process, we call it as navigation link. I hope you're able to follow till now. So we'll further continue. Plugs trigger. So now the communication is ready. I want to trigger the plug. How to trigger a plug? From anywhere. So create an action, create a button inside the action. So action is nothing but an event handler, or it's a method. finally. So inside a method, you need a single line to trigger your outbound plug. Always remember, you got to trigger the outbound plug only. So for that, this is automatically, once you create an action, there is an option called outbound plug. If you give the name of your outbound plug, automatically this code will be written inside your action event handler method. Okay, or manually if you want to write, you can make use of this wd underscore this. These are default attributes, object reference or already created in you inside of a method or method attributes or with the signatures exactly. Okay, so using that, you have to use like fire outbound plug name, whatever name you have given here. Every plug has its own name, underscore plg. Okay, so this is a format which triggers your outbound plug. Okay, once your button is clicked, and then plugs with parameter. So I'm going to pass a parameter. While click view one button, I want to pass some names from outbound to inbound plug. So technically view one to view two. So for example, I'm going to give a name underscore, name is p underscore name. This is what I want to trigger. I want to pass along with the outbound plug. So outbound plug has an option called parameters. So that is going to be added in the outbound plug. Then how that is going to receive in your in, because inbound doesn't have a plug, sorry, the inbound plug doesn't have a parameter option. So every inbound plug has its own event handler method. So inside the event handler method, you have to write a code to receive the value from the outbound plug parameters. It's pretty simple. Okay, so there is no plug parameter to parameter communication. So you have parameter and you have an event handler method. Inside the method, just write a code to receive the value of your outbound plug parameters. Same thing over here also. So here also, if you want, you can pass a parameter, but that needs to be received through an event handler method coding only. Okay, so hope you're able to get it. And this is the code what we are going to write inside the event handler method. So WD event is another object reference we are going to use, and the method is get data. So inside the get data, you have to use export name. These are the parameters of this method. Name equal to source view outbound plug parameter. So this is going to be right in my view to inbound plug. So in that case, what I have to do is source name of outbound plug. So view one outbound plug parameter name you have to give, and this is just a local variable to get the value from this outbound plug parameter. Okay, so hope this might be able to follow. I believe this is fine to just have communication between one view to another along with the parameters. Yeah, that's it. So let's get into the system. This is my system. I have already created a component ZGI views, and by default you have one view. So let me create one more. Maybe my, oops, sorry for the spelling mistake. It's a second view. Okay. Just save it. Yes, I have a second view. So let's have very few UI elements because we are going to learn about the communication between the views. So I'm going to with label, and so label, normally we need label for. I don't have any other component, so I'm going to assign this to my root UI element container just for just moving forward. Okay, and this is view one. Okay, so here, yeah, it's view one, and go to the second view and create text to label. It's down. This is also for that, and here view two. Okay, so now at least the views are ready. Now I'm going to make the connection between view one and view two. So let's have the buttons quite later. So the basic idea is here you can see inbound plugs and outbound plugs. Just walk through the inbound plugs. So you have inbound plug name and event handler option, and if you see outbound plugs, you have plug name and description parameters. So the parameters are applicable only for outbound plugs, and event handlers are applicable only for inbound plugs. Okay, it's its own properties. So let me have one inbound and one outbound in each view because I want to do a two-way communication. So this is my, what is a plug name? So a little easy to remember. Give some plug names. Maybe this outbound plug. See, the outbound plug is for view 2. And this is view 2 outbound plug. Okay, and then inbound, obviously this is inbound plug. It's coming from view 2, right? So it's inbound plug of view 1. Okay, otherwise 1 minute. Let's go this way. So this is our view 1 outbound plug, simple. Okay, just rename it. So view 1 outbound plug and view 1 inbound plug. Good. And go to second view, save it, yes. And this is inbound plug of view 2, and outbound is outbound plug for view 2. Okay, so description optional, parameter also I'm not going to give now. So now the plugs are ready. So if you go to window, obviously we need to add a window. So here if you expand, you have a main, the first window. So first view, you have inbound and outbound. So normally you won't see these plugs until you create. So once you create in view, that is reflect in your window level also, because the navigation link is going to be generated in the window level, not in the view level. Only the creation happening in the view level. So now I have only one view as embedded by default. So let me add my second view, F4, continue. So here, my second view along with the plugs. So here you can see outbound plug, inbound, and this is outbound and inbound plug for each view. So now I'm going to create a navigation link. So normally navigation link is happening from out to in only. So here, if you want to make a communication between main to second, so main outbound plug to second inbound plug, and the reverse way, outbound second outbound plug to main inbound plug. Okay, so that's what you have to make it. So right click here, create navigation link. You will get a pop-up window. You have to select what is the view name, what is the inbound plug name, and everything. Okay, so inbound plug is like destination inbound plug. So now that is the one way. Other way is drag and drop is the easiest way. So here outbound, main outbound to second inbound, right? Just drag and drop it. The same pop-up will comes, but automatically it's filled the value. So main outbound plug is going to be connect with the second inbound plug. Continue. So that is done. You'll get a one more option here. You can able to see under outbound, you are able to see which inbound plug, which plug is actually connected. That you are able to see it here. And I want to do the reverse way. So second outbound plug to main inbound plug. Just drag and drop it here. The same window with a different destination view on inbound plug. Just click continue. So now the connections are ready. Plugs created, navigation link is ready. Now we need to trigger it, right? So go to main, have a button, right click, insert B1 button, and give a text. So here, go to view 2, okay, and create action. So far we have just done an action, just a name. Go to view 2 and description, and here you have an option that is actually optional. What is the outbound plug? If really you require to make an outbound plug, once you click audible, you want to call a view, then you have to trigger the outbound plug. It's not calling an outbound plug, you have to trigger it. Trigger the outbound plug of the current view. We are in view 1, so you have to trigger the outbound plug of view 1. Just F4, excuse me, you will get only the outbound plugs here. So currently only one. Depends on the scenario, you can have n number of outbound and n number of inbound plugs. So suppose view 1 to view 3 and view 4 to view 1. I want a different plugs, or view 1 to view 4 different plugs. You can make it. Just double click and continue. So now it's done. If you go and see the code of the button, so the button is always coming under action event handler, and double click the action. The code is already written. WD underscore this fire out So this is out view1 plug name and PLG. Okay, so this is a way it creates the code. Just do the same for same in the second view as well. So go to second view and layout. Have a button. Just I want to back to view one. Insert element. Button 2. Button. So the text is back and action back, and I want to trigger the view 2 second view outbound plug. Just continue. Now if you go and see the action, and same thing to be done here as well, fire out view 2 plug. So everything is ready, and create an application and test it. Okay, execute. Oh, sorry, very basic mistake. I didn't activate my component at all. So right click, activate it. So activate fully from the root. So that try to activate everything. So now execute it. So I have view 1, go to view 2, just click, it goes to view 2, and click back button, it comes to view 1. So this is the way to communicate between views. So here only 2 views, and you can have n number of views, depends on your own requirement. Okay. So now let me have a parameter. Okay, so as I showed, the parameters are applicable only for outbound, not for inbound. So if you go and see outbound, you have an option called parameters. So here I can say p underscore name. You can make it optional if you want. This is ref2. If you want to create a object reference, you can select this. Why is optional means in the testing need, it's a learning purpose. If it is not optional, you get a syntax error. It's not a syntax. Kind of runtime error, you will get it. So better make this as optional and character 10. Okay, so now what I have to do was I have to pass a value. So as you aware how to read the value from any component using get element, those methods. So I don't want to again explain the same thing. So here I go with a hard-coded value. Okay. Otherwise, in real time, you have to read some values basically from the user using an input component, and you have to add to this p underscore name variable. So how to add this? So you know where is the triggering point? Go to that method. So this one, right? You have to use just what do you call parameter name. So my parameter name is, what is the parameter name I have given? P underscore name, right? So p underscore name equal to test. That's it. Otherwise, what you can do is you can recreate your action. Okay, like delete the action, recreate it, and again outbound plug. If you give automatically, this name is reflect here. Okay. Otherwise, just add it normally. So this is done. I have passed the value in my outbound plug. I am in view 1 outbound plug. And how to receive this? As I mentioned, all the inbound plugs has a event handler method, only inbound plugs. So get into the inbound plug, and there is a method parameter. So I can say method signature. So WD event. Using that, I'm going to receive the value from my source outbound plug parameter. So here you have an option called get data, exporting. I'm sorry. Exporting name. It's a parameter of the method. So what is the name I have given? P underscore name. So this is the outbound plug, source outbound plug parameter name. Importing value. So this is actually a generic data, this value parameter. So you have to declare this before. On the flow, you can't do the declaration. You'll get a syntax error. So better declare it. LT value type character 10. Okay, that's it. So then after that, if you want to assign this to any of the UI component, always you can do it. But now I'm not going to do that because these are already explained. So let me have a breakpoint. Right click, activate. Make sure current window also active. It's active now. So breakpoint, have a session breakpoint here. Okay, maybe have here also. Okay. So now go and refresh and click go to view. It stopped here and just double click. I am in second, so even handler method, right? I am in a second view, handler method, F6. So whatever you have passed using an outbound parameter variable, that value is read in the second inbound event handler method. Okay, so this is a way you have to send and receive the values through plugs. Okay, so hope probably you might have a little clarity about how we can do a communication between views. The same way you can do whatever you want between two different views and maybe multiple views also. Okay, so hope this might be useful and just go through this. If you have any doubt, please let me know. Thank you so much for your time. See you in the next video. Bye.